But yeah, I was selfishly trying to solve my own problem. I'd banged my head against the wall for so many years on why is this so chaotic? Is it so hard to get quotes back and manage the whole process that I came up with this crazy idea and went out and started talking to my peers, different potential customers, and just couldn't stop validating it. So here we are.
Welcome to Benefits Broker Boost, the show that gives employee benefits brokers practical strategies to grow, scale, and streamline their business. Presented by Plansight, where innovation meets efficiency in employee benefits. Now, let's dive in.
Welcome to another episode of Benefits Broker Boost. I'm joined today by Steve Overton, founder of Plansight and former employee benefits broker himself. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Some say former, some say recovering. Thank you for having me.
Steve is an avid pickleball player. Like I said, he's got a long background in employee benefits. And about 7 years ago, he started Plansight. So today the goal is for us to have Steve dive into why he created Plansight. Why did he come up with the idea and what problems is it solving? So Steve, any more background you want to give us about yourself?
Well, yeah, I do probably talk way too much about pickleball, but pretty soon, I live here in the Rocky Mountains, so pretty soon I'll be talking a lot about skiing. So it's all seasonal. So I do have, You got to have some hobbies outside of creating a software company, and that's what keeps you sane.
Definitely. That's good. Well, let's jump in. So this podcast is put on by Plansight. We are an RFP process solution. We help make that process far more streamlined for employee benefits brokers, everything from the RFP process all the way to the presentation. Steve will get into that a little bit, but I mainly want to talk about first why you created this. What was the pain point that you saw? So, you went from a broker to a founder, and you spent almost 25 years as an employee benefits broker before you started Plansight. So what were the challenges that led to the creation of this software?
Well, yeah, thanks for asking. I did spend a long time. I started very, very young. I was actually a college student when I started in the business. It was a family business at the time. So I've seen quite an evolution to the point where there was almost no technology, to the point where technology was starting to get introduced, to eventually inventing technology to do it. I mean, I was doing this back in the, early 90s, mid to early 90s, and we were doing RFPs on fax machines. Eventually, we're faxing over RFPs and physically drive to the insurance companies a lot of times to pick up the quoting documents and the booklets and the provider directories and things like that. And eventually it got to the point where, hey, email was good enough to send this stuff back and forth. You get PDFs, but it always turned into this big process of turning it into a massive Excel booklet, tons of different versions of it, and just tons and tons of different email threads, and kind of like chaos every year. It's an interesting business because it's very cyclical. Most people are, renewing their business 1/1. So fourth quarter would just be absolutely crazy. And every year it's just kind of like, okay, where is everything? And in my agency, we went from, storing customer data in filing cabinets in the early 90s to we get to a point where we're using CRMs that you used to get on. All I'm doing is dating myself here. Shouldn't be doing this. We had CRMs that we would get on CDs and load them on our computer, and they were locally hosted, but it's the way that we could track data. Eventually, systems started coming out, broker management systems, which would track policy data, but there was really nothing that managed that RFP cycle, and it's mission critical. If you're selling benefits, you have to do an RFP. There is no plan that exists with no RFP. But the process was kind of just all over the board, just tons of random attachments, tons of email threads, and there was just no way to really succinctly track it. So it was just kind of chaos. And I started to see some things happening in the industry with technology, with different bin admin systems coming into play, things like Zenefits and things like Flock, and going, hey, they're really focusing on this, and that's neat. And the system started getting better. The bin admin system started getting better, but there was nothing that was doing anything to change this RFP process, this collection of quotes process, this process of analyzing the quotes and comparing them side by side. Because at the end of the day, what I had to do for my customer was put together a presentation and put together a recommendation. And I was one of those weird brokers, which I think they're all weird in this way. We want to do the right thing for our customers. We want to make sure they're in the right spot in the marketplace, but we need efficiencies and tools to let us know what is the marketplace and how can I go out to it and collect it in a process that is scalable and repeatable. Because as we work with agency to agency all over the place, and we can get more into this, there's a lot of consolidation. And as these brokerages consolidate, it's like, hey, let's bring new companies under the umbrella. Everybody's just doing it very differently. There's no consistency in what we found. That's what the large brokerages are looking for, is consistency, scalability, and ultimately growth. But yeah, I was selfishly trying to solve my own problem. I'd, banged my head against the wall for so many years on, why is this so chaotic? Is it so hard to get quotes back and manage the whole process, that I came up with this crazy idea and went out and started talking to my peers, different potential customers, and just couldn't stop validating it. So here we are.
Right. That's great. You can still hear the pain in your voice a little bit. And, I've worked at a lot of different software companies, and you'd be hard pressed to find a founder and a chief product officer that is more passionate about actually solving the problem. And I think that comes from that repetitive cycle of having this pain every single Q4. So I love that you're so passionate about solving this. It shows in the way that you lead the product team. So that's great.
Well, thanks.
Okay. So you're doing this every Q4. There's a tipping point or a breaking point where you're like, I have to find a better way. Do you remember the jumping off point?
Yeah, I do. And I think it was it's a pain that you continue to endure, because at the end of the day, what I really do love about the insurance business and the benefits business is you're selling these plans that, at the end of the day, insurance is the last thing that any of us want to use. But when you need to use it, it's a lifesaver. And very, very early on in my career, I would see opportunities or see incidents where somebody at one of their employees was going through something major in their life. And it's not fun, but it's rewarding to see, hey, what we were able to help them with, put them in a good position to keep their family out of bankruptcy, to allow somebody to take time off work. What's neat about it is you're in a business where the product you're selling really meets people at the lowest points in their life. So it's a really, really, I think, a noble profession. And I always loved it. So even with the chaos, it's worth it. And it's a very rewarding profession, but it became a little bit more difficult to really grow and scale without having repeatable processes, a system where you could just plug people in, they get into the business, and you can grow it that way. Somebody doesn't come to work one day, they're sick. All of a sudden, where are all the RFPs? I don't know. Maybe Jenny sent them out. Does anybody have access to Jenny's email address? No, that's not legal, right? I know brokers who have come, they're like, the thing I love about Plansight is, I had an experience 2 years ago where I thought my administrator was doing all the work. She wasn't. She was getting ready to quit. She didn't tell me. I thought I had all this work done. Come to find out, she didn't do anything. And here my clients are, and I'm running around in the last hour. So having a system where everybody can work collaboratively became really, really, really important. And that helps the growth of an organization. And the truth is, Adam, a lot of times, we talk about RFPs. In an ideal world, I get a new customer and I sell that customer a policy. And every year that policy performs like magic and they're so happy and they never want to look at the market again. But that's just not the reality. You have to continue to look in the market because, one, you got to be able to say, is my customer in the right place now? Are they still? And if that brokerage is not willing to go do that due diligence every year to say, are they in the right place? There's about 40 others that are lined up that are calling their customers right then saying, we'll do it, we'll do it, we'll do it. So the reality is the only RFPs, Adam, I ever wanted to do was for somebody else's customer. But I needed a way to manage my own and keep them in the right place so I could have time to do other RFPs as well. And so, I mean, that's really part of the genesis of Plansight as well, being able to scale a business. I mean, any business that scales has definable processes, but you go to a lot of brokerages, yeah, they have these processes, but it's maybe made up by an Excel document that somebody did 7 years ago. And everybody just goes, hey, this is the only way we know, right?
Yeah. I love that. I've worked with a lot of different businesses, helping them grow and scale. And there's a telltale sign that systems are broken. And it's when the main producers are at their limit and you have to grow still. And you
Hmm.
try to expand and it fails and you have to contract. And you try to expand and it fails and you have to contract. I have a certain business in mind that I'm thinking of that I've worked with for a long time, and they've done this 8 different times probably. The main producer is so busy and they're like, okay, let's bring on a second producer, and they go through the process because they're succeeding with how good the person is and not because of the systems.
Hmm.
Band, this next person they bring in isn't quite as good of a producer as the second. It doesn't go as well, and then they contract back to what it was before. So I love that you're thinking about the systems in place with the business to help it grow past just good producers, but to create a good experience for everyone involved. So I love that. Okay, so we all know brokers are extremely busy. I would say that's probably one of the points that's made them slower to adopt technology as an industry. Taking the time to bring in technology can be difficult. What are some things with Plansight that you've seen are either incentivizing enough for them to make that change, or that have helped brokers really adopt the technology?
No, that's a good insight and a good question. It's really interesting. And I do want to say something. A lot of these things that I'm talking about now, these aren't necessarily the ideas that I had when I started the company. These are what has been evolved and by the conversations that we've had with our customers and the needs of the marketplace. There are a lot of ideas that I thought, oh, this is what Plansight is. Plansight is a portion now of what I thought it would be. And it's so many other things that I never thought of. And it's usually due to all of the amazing customer feedback, because we go out to these customers and prospects and figure out what they're doing and what they would like to be doing. But as far as change management goes, the industry struggles with it. They really do, because it's kind of like the whole industry evolved into this certain thing. Hey, we have emails, we can do that. We have spreadsheets, we can do that. And changing their minds. So what I've found and what I've seen is the larger the organization, the more willing the change is, because they have so much to do and it's so hard to manage a bunch of random processes that people might be controlling. When you have basically people higher up in the organization that are leading the charge saying, hey, we need to change, we need to evolve. Because the truth is, a lot of times, if maybe you're the one who developed the process that you have, or you're used to the process you have, you might go, one, I don't have time to learn anything. I don't want to learn anything. That's almost the hardest part of it, because it's like, here, it's a new idea, it's a new process. I need to think a little bit differently. What we've been able to do, though, is work with our customers and try to simulate the processes that they're already doing as much as possible and put it into a framework or a wizard type style where it's like, hey, here's step 1, 2, 3, 4, but then bring that transparency throughout the whole organization with a web-based shared platform where, hey, Adam, I'm 50% done on this group. Can you just step in and finish it up for me? Rather than, hey, let me email you everything that I've got, and then you try to figure out where I am. Because you will understand the process, we can pick it up. But yeah, change management, it's really, really tough. But I guarantee you one thing, this industry is changing and will change. And if it's like any industry, you adapt or you don't. I don't want to say die, but just, or you don't.
Yeah. I I think we're seeing a drastically increasing slope of adoption of technology in the insurance space. And I would say a big driver of that is the consolidation that you talked about earlier that we're seeing. You get a bigger group that's bringing smaller groups together. Now you've got 30 different processes to try to manage, because each
Mm-hmm.
group in their own processes. So the technology at that point becomes a sanity must have, right?
Yeah.
We're
Oh,
all
yeah.
on
Yeah.
the same technology. So yeah, that's a great point, great points that you've made. It is difficult to change manage through a lot of organizations, especially organizations that are as high touch as the insurance space. So, okay, what this is maybe one of my favorite questions on here. When you think about that relationship between the broker and the employer, and then also the employees, how is Plansight making that relationship better compared to the traditional process?
No, that's a good question. No, I would say, I was lucky enough to work with a lot of employers. I mean, one of the funnest things about being a producer at some of these companies is you get to go to the open enrollment meetings. You get to meet and sit down face to face with some of the employees. Obviously, the larger the organization gets that you support, the less kind of touch you have with the individuals. But at the end of the day, what our job as a broker is to guide these people down a path to understand what the marketplace is, what's available for them, where they could be tripped up, where they could find success, what does work, what doesn't work, and lead them to it's ultimately going to be their decision, but we're trying to put together scenarios that have the best outcomes. We want to do it for a couple of reasons. One, you're doing the right thing. Two, if you're not putting your customer in the right place, you're not going to retain your customer. So they're going to go somewhere else because maybe they've had a bad experience. But I think what the broker is really trying to do, we're trying to put that employer in the best position possible. We're trying to make the benefits affordable and attractive. We're trying to help them come up with a contribution scenario that is affordable for the employee, but also good and valuable to the employee, but affordable. And so at the end of the day, because Plansight, we are an open marketplace. We have no limit on our carriers, no limit on kind of the solutions that you can offer to the customers. I think we put the brokers in a good position to envelop the whole marketplace, come up with really, really great solutions that the employers at the end of the day are going to love. I mean, I've been lucky enough in my lifetime and even in my own family's lifetime to need benefits very little. But when we have, it's just a godsend, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is saving our year right here. This is it. And when you're in a position with a good carrier, with a good program that you can kind of afford, that you can't afford, it just feels good as an employee. That's when you start to appreciate your employer. You go, oh, they made the right decision for us. They led us down a good path. They knew what they were doing. And ultimately, it's up to you as the broker and the technology that they use to allow and facilitate something like that to happen.
Yeah, that's great. So you said it really well. I was having a conversation, I think Monday of this week, probably Monday of this week. And someone explained it to me like this, when you're meeting with, as a broker, when you're meeting with head of HR, head of finance, and you've brought your presentation and you've got everything mapped out, the thing that you dread the most is what if, right?
Yeah.
You've already got it mapped out. You don't want to hear like, what if we do this or what if we try this? That means a whole nother batch of work for the rest of your team, right? Plansight is making that almost fun to hear. Obviously, there's still a little bit of work that needs to be done, but the way that it's working, it allows you to be that strategist, right? You don't dread hearing what if. If they say what if, now I can run all those what if scenarios so much faster that I can be that strategist and partner alongside the head of HR, head of finance, who's ever making that decision. And it just, like you said, it opens up the whole marketplace for the brokers. So I love that. Okay. I want to talk about the future of our industry. You've lived on both sides as someone creating technology and someone using technology. Where do you see our industry going in the next 5 to 10 years as far as technology goes?
Geez, I mean, it's wild. If you asked me 5 years ago where I thought we would be now, there are things that we're doing now that I couldn't imagine that we would have been able to do. And I'm sure in 5 years from now, whatever I say now is going to be completely off base because
we're going to hold you
if
to
we
it.
Knew that, we'd already be doing it, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, I've been in the business a very long time, and one thing that I do know is things are going to get a little bit more expensive. They have been forever. The main focus of benefits is typically always major medical. I was doing business back in the day where you could insure a family for $400 a month. Now that seems crazy cheap. We're seeing insane rates these days, but back then $400 seemed like a lot of money then too. We know costs will go up as they always do. And we've seen, they're forecasting for 2026 quite large increases around the country. So I think a lot more cost control type mechanisms, a lot more, I think groups will be embracing a concierge kind of like help us, use our health plan better. I think in the past, there's been a lot of health plans where it's kind of like, here's your health plan. Hope you like it. If you have any questions, maybe there's a customer service number. I think down in the future, there ought to be a lot more care navigation on helping people. There's so many nuances to it that the average user doesn't really understand how to consume it very well. And if you've been around the business for a little while, you know how to do it, but you're run-of-the-mill employee that, hey, I don't have to think about health insurance until 2 years from now when I might have a claim. They don't really know how to navigate it. So I think there's going to be a lot more cost control and a lot more, it goes without saying, AI. Everything that we're going to be doing is going to be dictated by AI. The things that we're going to be doing in Plansight. Right now we're reading and interpreting quote information and comparing it. We're going to be having conversations and having predictions and analysis and having AI agents running through and probably doing our RFPs for us and saving just incredible amounts of time. The things that we're working on with AI right now, I'm just excited to see where it's going. But I do see in the business, as far as the brokerages and agencies go, it's going to continue to be consolidation. At this point, it feels like the market is one of two things. It's an acquirer, one of the ABC big shops, or it's maybe an aggregator. Like there are several of them around where they just go and buy independent agencies and let them retain their brand, but operate under one shell. But as they acquire, what they're going to need is that consistency. And that's where I think systems like Plansight really, really work, because if you're looking to be acquired, you have a system that maybe the acquirers are already using, and we can envelop them right into that. So I think it's all going to be going towards AI and predictive systems and consolidation.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned, if I tried to make this prediction 5 years ago, we didn't have AI. ChatGPT didn't exist 5 years ago, right? So
yeah,
that's kind of what introduced everyone to AI. And now we're a few years out from that, and we're seeing really, really crazy things that AI can do. So you mentioned another thing is helping people better utilize their benefits. I think AI will be very beneficial there, where it can interpret the plans that they have. People can interact with it, ask questions about how they can I utilize it this way, and it will be able to interpret those things for them. I think that's a big use case, as well as, like you said, completely solving the systems that are very time consuming. So, there's a lot of concern about AI and it taking people's jobs, and you see some situations where that happens. You also see several situations where it's happened and then it's been reversed. I think that people will just be able to, because of what AI is taking off of their plates, build better relationships interpersonally, and that brokers will be able to build more relationships with their clients and take the busy work off of their plate. So I love the way that it's going, and I think AI used properly will accelerate that really, really well. So thanks for that.
I totally agree with that.
Okay, so let's wrap things up. Steve, appreciate your time. One question that I want to ask everyone, and I just like hearing people's response to this, is what excites you the most about being in the employee benefits space in 2025?
I think that it goes a little bit back to kind of what I was saying before. I think maybe what excites me about it now is that we're in this era of AI, and I'm at the forefront of it, and I'm seeing these things, and we have data scientists and people working on some really fun projects. That's exciting about now. But I also think, and I didn't always think this way until I saw it clearly, was what an amazing profession and industry it is. It's this, sometimes people get so down on insurance, I hate it, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it's a lifesaver. It is absolutely a lifesaver. And it's fun to be able to be in a position where you're helping people, you're helping families live better lives, and you're helping people get healthier, and you're protecting what they work so hard for. And you're making, you're helping facilitate people loving their jobs because, hey, I've got an employer who offers a great set of benefits and they care about me. I mean, it's a really, really neat profession that's, I think early on, I kind of got into it. This is a family business and this is a really great way to make money and have a lifestyle. But then you realize and you see these experiences of how this really helps people. And then eventually maybe you have an incident in your own family and you go, man, I love this. These premiums were worth it. Nobody likes paying the premiums. Everybody loves it when it's there to help them out. So it's an exciting industry to be a part of, but it's also very exciting to be here to see what we're going to be able to do with technology and see where this takes us, not only the next year and the next year and the next year. Like, it is evolving so fast. And the things that we're working on and the things that we're excited to bring out in 2026 and beyond is just, that super excites me. And just, I agree with you. I don't think in this industry we're going to displace a bunch of people. I just think we're going to make them superheroes.
I love it. All right. Well, thanks again for joining me today, Steve. Thanks everyone that took time to watch this. Hope there was some value in here. Hope that everyone is as excited about being in this space as both Steve and I are. And hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Adam.